Project Punk on x92.9, Calgary's new rock alternative.
We are in the warm studios of x92.9, and in my sights, I have Decoy. Who's in the room with me?
I am Noel Napalm.
I'm Jesse Destruct, and we are Decoy.
And those are some punk rock names, man.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
We like them.
Is that step 2 after you get into a band? You come up with some cool aliases?
For us, that was more like step 18, I think. It came a little while after. It wasn't right away.
Well, welcome to the Punk Rock Nickname Club.
Woo! Woo!
All right.
What's yours? Do you have one?
I don't. I should.
We should give you one.
A lot of people call me asshole, so I might go with that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty great.
All right, Decoy, tell me about yourselves. How long have you been a part of this ruckus punk rock scene in Calgary?
Decoy started about probably 2 years ago now. Been through a few members in its short time of being. Jesse joined about a little under a year ago, I guess.
It's clearly you're not a two-piece. Do you have a drummer?
No, so if you know any, or some of you listeners are a drummer or know a drummer.
So you're on the hunt right now?
Yeah, we are, and we have been for a while. Luckily, our good buddy Casey Lewis from The Evidence is sweet enough to help us out, and he's kind of been filling in for us for the last few months.
By having one of the better drummers in the history of time playing in your band, is that going to make it difficult to find?
Oh my God, it already has.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to not have anybody walk in and just like automatically compare them to Casey. And it's tough, especially because he also has the voice of an angel, so that that helps as well.
So we should rephrase the wanted ad. It's you want a good, very good drummer.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good drummer.
We want a Casey Lewis. That should be the ad.
Casey Lewis 2. Clone.
Casey Lewis 2.
Just clone that bastard.
Yeah.
Got myself an addiction. You're the one I wanna be missing. Got myself an addiction. Alright, tonight at your place. Got myself an addiction. You're the one I wanna be kissing. Got myself an addiction. Alright, can I come to your place? VHS, success. VHS, success. VHS, success. VHS,
Don't take this as a negative shot on your record. It's really a really good record. But seeing you guys live, you have this aggression and swagger and all this kick-ass shit to it, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of doesn't. If you listen to the record beforehand, you'd be like, it's almost like two different bands because
Right.
you don't get that feeling of aggression. Which leads to my next question: is it hard to capture in a recording?
Yeah, I always find that that kind of translation between an album and playing live always really interesting. This is our first full-length album that me and Noel have recorded together, and I always kind of wondered what it was going to end up like in that way. Because, yeah, some of my favorite bands, I see them live, I listen to the album, and it's always usually quite different. Like, it's pretty rare that it's bang on. And I always kind of wondered what that was going to be like. And it was really interesting to have our own album and listen to our own album and think of how different it was when we played live.
Where does the angst come from?
Are our lyrics angsty? I think they're kind of slutty.
Well, all right. So let's ask a twofold question: where does the angst in the attitude and the performance come from, and where does the sluttiness come from in the lyrics?
I take a lot from just like being a kid and being a teenager, and like I don't really write like in the here and now. I kind of like to go back to the good old days where not the good old days, because I don't want my fiance to punch me in the face, but you know, like when I was single, running amok, being a big whore. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did. Being in high school, being angry, I don't know. It's just, it's fun. It suits the music a lot.
And when we used to play like in punk bands, like back in Cochrane, when they sell like a community hall and all that kind of stuff, when we were playing shows back then, it was just playing music live was just such a rush and so much adrenaline, and it was so amazing. And in our early bands, when we were like covering the Misfits and stuff, I was a terrible bass player. But yeah, I pretty much made up for it by just like, I just wanted to put on a show. So I would just rock out, and I usually broke my equipment and all that kind of stuff. And now that we're in, like, I think that we're more talented and we're in a better band, I still try and keep that energy and that just kind of rawness to our live performance, and still try and play well at the same time.
Watch out, those girls have guns. They will rattle, they will shake you down, 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 down. You got your ammunition. Your pulse like superstition. So I run. So I in this frequency, all the combat I'm a fake. In this frequency, all the combat I'm a fake. Got my ticket for your cherry kisses. Try me on that front. Rock kisses. You got your ticket. Now run. Got my ticket for your cherry kisses. Try me on that front. Rock kisses. You got your ticket. Now run, run, run,
I've seen you guys on bills where it tends to be like every band has a female lead singer and
Which
stuff
is
like.
awesome.
Yeah.
Do you look for those shows, or is it just happen that way?
It just kind of happens that way. Like, usually if we're playing with other bands that have female singers, it's either, like you said, the Dirty Girl Social Club, 40 Gun Flagship, Black Earth, but it's because we're friends with all of those bands, so it's just like, it's just kind of coincidence that they're just all female fronted, so we're like, hey, let's, you know, throw a bill together, and we're just all female singers. It just kind of works out that way. But no, I don't look for that. Like, I actually kind of like being on bills where I'm the only girl in any of the bands, because it just makes me feel badass.
I personally like it because it feels like a little bit of, you know, unification and solidarity, you know, being in female fronted.
Yeah. Oh, it's great both
rock
ways.
band.
Absolutely.
There seems to be a lot of bands going in that route. Is it just because the chicks are taking over the scene kind of thing, or is it plotted out, or is it just how it happens? You know, there's probably, is there a reason for it, or is it just coincidence?
Maybe a little bit of both. Who knows? I mean, like, I know that the girl power movement happened when Spice Girls were around, and
Yeah.
I think that was like late 90s.
I think if some girl who wants to be in a band and who has some talent goes and sees a band that it has a girl-fronted vocalist or whatever,
It's very inspirational.
it can be very inspirational, absolutely. And you know, even though I'm a guy bass player in a girl-fronted punk rock band, I still really I don't know how to say it. Like I enjoy that fact. I like to think that we're inspirational in that way. That if a girl does come to our show and thinks, "Hey, that's awesome," that she'll go home and start playing, like play guitar, and get some guys to back up for her, or whoever, and just like start her own band, kind of a thing.
So that makes you guys role models.
Makes her a role model anyway.
No, you're part of it too, man. Plug your Marquee Room show
Right.
on November 13th with Caught Off Guard. Was that right? Did I get that right?
You did, absolutely.
Okay, then you don't need to plug that.
Great.
Make sure you
Okay.
go see these guys. Decoy, November 13th at the Marquee Room
With Caught Off Guard.
with Caught Off Guard.
Beautiful.
Great guys, friends of the show. And if you're a really good drummer, how do they get a hold of you guys?
You can just contact us on our email, decoydecoymusic@gmail.com.
Or our MySpace, which is myspace.com/decoydecoymusic.
Yeah.
And check that out anyway, because that's where some of our tracks are up.
All right, guys. Well, thank you
Cool.
very much for coming in.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Darren.
much for having
And,
us, Darren. It's great to see you.
Seriously, if you're a good drummer,
Look us up.
you could be in a rad band. You could be a role model.
Oh, dear.
Oh, Darren.
Join on the Girl Army.
Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. I was just a girl looking for the world in someone else's arms every other night. I was just a girl looking for the world in someone else's arms almost every other. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. I was just a fool, thinking it was cool to leave all of your hearts broken on the floor. I was just a fool, thinking it was cool to leave all of your hearts completely broken over. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. Stop crying. I'm not the one you should be fighting. Stop crying. Yeah. I'm not the one you should be dying for. Stop crying. Yeah. I'm not the one you should be dying for.
And that was Decoy with Stop Crying off the Pretty in Peril album. Big thanks to those two kids for coming in. Commercial time when we come back, we're talking with Claudio from Coheed and Cambria. Stick around.